My name is Lillehammer. I teach philosophy at Birkbeck in the University of London.
Could you tell me about a time when you changed your mind about a very long-standing belief?
Yeah, so that's quite a difficult question for me because I found it quite hard to think of a strong belief that I had changed my mind about. But I have a slightly different answer because sometimes when we change our epistemic state, it's not because we've had a firm belief that we then lose, but because we didn't have a belief and then we're surprised at what happens. And one example of that is related to events that took place in this country, in the United Kingdom, not so long ago. In 2016, there was a referendum as a result of which the UK decided to leave the European Union. And many people, millions of people, me included, had lived here for many years as Europeans without having to get any particular kind of identification or paperwork sorted because we could live here as part of the European Economic Area. And many of us thought that as Europe was becoming more integrated, we would continue being able to live in this way as Europeans in the UK. And then suddenly there was this referendum. And since then, in the 8 years since then, many of us have had to go through long periods of bureaucratic processes, fixing paperwork, registering ourselves as living here, getting new passports and identity details. And suddenly we live in a completely different situation, which if you'd asked any of us, I think until 2013, 14, we would have thought, no need to do that. And then suddenly your life changed and you spent all this time doing something different. So that's an example of changing your epistemic state, although I'm not saying there was a firm belief in advance of it, but it certainly was for many of us a big surprise.
Do you have any beliefs you think you will never abandon?
Yes, I have some beliefs that I think I'll never abandon. Some of them are very trivial beliefs. They have to do with myself and my life and things that have happened to me. So they're kind of things that are close by and not the ones that you would think about as having firm beliefs about. But they are beliefs that constitute knowledge in a way that I can't see I will ever change. So there are those sorts of beliefs. And then there are some beliefs, let's call them some moral beliefs about things that people should not do to each other no matter what the circumstances are, which I think are so firmly entrenched in my belief system that I will never change them.
What does it mean to disagree well?
I think it depends on the disagreement in question and the context. So it depends on whether the disagreement is high stakes or low stakes, whether it's on a trivial matter. And it depends on the relationship in which you stand to the people in question. But all other things being equal, I would say to disagree well includes having some understanding of what the other side actually believes, why they believe that, how it's possible for a reasonable person to come to believe that, assuming that they are reasonable, and then try to understand what the disagreement actually consists in. And I think if both sides have that attitude, then you can disagree well.
Do you have any ideas about what schools or universities can do to promote good disagreement?
Yes, I do. I think it's very important that students, when they discuss various material, are allowed to see at least two different interpretations of that material, two different arguments, different conclusions drawn from that material, and that students are trained to be able to see how there can be more than one reasonable way to understand the same thing. And that doesn't just mean reading it, but it means also enacting it in the course of conversation, writing essays, which shows two sides of a single question, maybe having debates about it, and trying to see, as it were, how it's not always obvious how what you thought was the simple answer has to be the answer that everyone else thinks is the simple answer too.